Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, June 7th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm joined on Monday afternoon by my buddy here, Mr. Big Marcel. What's going on, Big Man? How you doing, man?
Hi, what's up, man? Yeah, another
Good.
week, another fight week. All good, man. We're ready. We always been ready. So yeah, all good.
Oh, for sure. And we had a good card in the weekend. We're going to recap that card. I know you don't want to talk about Mayweather and Paul, but I got to talk about it. It is like everything else. Everyone else is talking about this more. So I know you're not a big fan of these guys, but we do have to talk about it a little bit. Although I'm sure you're going to be on mute during that part. But we do have some questions to start off the podcast. Let's just take the question right now. We've got two questions here from Big J and Marcus. It's the same thing, though. They're asking about thoughts on Ariel leaving ESPN. Do you think he's going to join another company or go independent? And Marcus added on, I find it hard to believe that Ariel chose to leave the biggest sports media outlet. It's also home to the biggest MMA organization in the world to go to a smaller company, less money and exposure. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what everyone's talking about right now. I personally don't care as much about this than I honestly don't. Like, I feel like a lot of people in the media really, really care what Ariel's doing. I don't really. I mean, it doesn't affect my life at all. You know what I mean? Like, he's a great journalist. Don't get me wrong. Ariel's a great journalist. We all know that. I've met him in person many times. I have no problem with him as a journalist, but I mean, leaving ESPN for apparently the Action Network, I actually didn't even really know what that was until yesterday. So that's obviously a step down. I mean, just based on name value alone, but there's a lot more going on here, guys. You got to remember, like, he was being paid $500,000 by ESPN. That's a lot. That's more money than any other journalist covering the sport makes. I work in this business. I know how much people make. No one else makes $500,000. Maybe Brian Okamoto does at ESPN. I can't think of anyone else who would. If you make $100,000 as an MMA journalist, you're doing really, really good. If you make $50,000, you're doing good. Ariel was making $500,000. Apparently, he wanted more money. Apparently, he thinks he can make more money doing his own thing. So that article in the New York Post that said he's going to go to the Action Network, that same guy leaked the story 2 months ago, and I'm pretty sure Ariel planted the story with this guy because how else would he know how much he made? So Ariel told this guy how much he makes. The guy wrote the story in the New York Post. And now everyone's talking about it. I don't know, Marcel. I'll get your thoughts on it. Like I said, though, like for me, it's like I'm worried about my own life, guys. Like I work a lot and I like what I do. And it's like as much as I do want to keep what's going on with the business, it doesn't impact me as much as like other people seem to think it impacts them. Give me your thoughts on this, man. Like to me, it's just like it's obviously a story because he's a big name journalist, but I'm assuming you feel the same way. Like it doesn't affect you, right?
Listen, man, I wish him the best, but I don't give a flying fuck. I see many MMA websites putting out articles about it, and that's like, why?
We actually did too at BJ, and I didn't want to, but someone else wrote it, so I was like, all right, whatever.
It's kind of weird to me to write an article about a journalist going to another.
I agree.
It's just weird, So for him, hey man, if he's happy with what he's doing, he should do it. You know what I mean? But it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect anybody except for Ariel or whoever, where he worked or where he's going to work. So I don't know what all the fuss about, to be really honest.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think a lot of people in this business, obviously, they think that maybe now that he's gone and left ESPN, maybe they can take his spot. I think that's why people are talking about it. I've seen a lot of people, some good journalists saying, hey, if he's gone and there's a spot, I'll take the spot. So it'll be interesting to see what they do at ESPN because obviously, like, he was at the biggest network in the States, right? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Like, again, it doesn't affect me that much. And I knew this was going to happen 2 months ago because I saw the article in the New York Post. I just have a hard time feeling bad for someone that made $500,000 that left their job. To me, it's like, I'm not going to go and be like, feel bad for the guy. Like, I don't get it. Like, he made a lot of money. He makes more money than any of us. That's more money I've ever made in my life, probably. You know what I mean, Marcel? Like, that's a lot of money.
I mean, for you, only Canada losing some territory at ESPN. That's the only thing.
I know. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth like mentioning. Like, and I'm glad Marcus asked the question as far as like where he would go. Sure. I know that article said that he wants to start his own thing. We'll see if that works. I personally don't. I wouldn't subscribe. It's nothing against him. I just don't really subscribe to any of these things. Like I totally think that it's a good thing to have subscription websites because I do work for one Elite Fantasy and people have to pay to read that stuff and it's really good. Same with The Athletic. You have to pay to read it. Same with some other things like ESPN Premium, whatever it's called. I can't remember the name of that, but Insider, I think it's called. So like there's definitely premium journalism out there. You have to pay for it. I get that, but that original article said that, if he converts like 1% of his following, which is 1 million, and they pay $5 a month, he's already going to make as much as he did. I just think that doing that kind of napkin table math is like, it seems good on paper, but I just think MMA fans are cheap, dude. They don't want to pay for the pay-per-views. They don't want to pay for anything. They're not going to pay to watch Ariel do interviews. I'm sorry. I just don't see it being as big of a thing for him if that's his goal. He could do well. Like the guys at what are they called? Chad Dundas and Ben Folks, they do really well. They make like $10,000 a month, American, doing their podcast. But $10,000 to $500,000, which is what that article was saying he could make if he converts 1%. That's a lot, Marcel. What are you going to say?
Plus the thing is, like you saw with interviews, man, as long as stuff like interviews from James Lynch, John Young Pyo,
exactly.
And these guys are all free.
These guys are good. James is good. And John is really good.
Yeah, as long as those are free and we can watch that, why would we especially watch an Ariel interview, Nothing against Ariel, but he also doesn't get the Ali guys, as well. That's what Brett always does at ESPN. So that's also a thing. So I don't know, man. I'm curious what he's going to do. I'll watch it, but I'm also definitely not going to pay for it. And it's not because I don't want to, but I don't feel I need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, Marcel. I feel like you speak for a lot of the MMA fans when you say that. Like, I think a lot of people don't want to pay extra money. Like, people are already having a hard enough time with the economic of the current world, with COVID and everything. I don't think like it only seems like $5 on paper, but like for instance, if it was $5 a month or whatever, but people don't want to pay that. Go ahead.
Bro, I mean, $5 for Ariel, $10 for Netflix, $10 for Prime, $10 for UFC fight.
You know what? He might do okay, Marcel. I mean? Like maybe I'm underselling it. Maybe he does have these like really hardcore fans, and I think he does. And again, he's really good at what he does. Ariel's been doing this for a long time. I've known him for 10 years. I've known him since 2011. I met him in person at the Machida John Jones fight back when I worked at the Score, and we've had some ups and downs, but I mean, I'm cool with him. We're cordial. I have no issues with Ariel. I think he's a really good journalist, but I do think that back when he was with MMA Fighting, I think that was kind of like his peak. I think like when he got like over him and stuff in the studio, when he used to do all those interviews in the studio, that was the best version of Ariel I think that we've seen. And the guy at ESPN, I don't think he's doing exactly what he loves. So I think now he's going to be having the opportunity to do something that he likes and has control over from what I'm seeing. So, I mean, good luck to the guy. But again, guys, like I'm worried about myself. I'm worried about my family rather than someone else. What are you going to say, Marcel?
Adam, I think also the thing is like, he was very good with Dana in the first.
Yeah, exactly. They used to do great interviews back in the day. Yeah, the Brock Lesnar thing. Yeah,
they got the Brock Lesnar thing, and then ESPN went with UFC went to ESPN, and he was also there. So it's like maybe he doesn't feel like I don't say this is true, by the way. This is maybe how I think about it, but this is absolutely doesn't have to be the truth. But maybe he doesn't feel like comfortable. I don't know. So
that's true. I mean, it definitely. If we don't know, we just heard what he said. Like I said, guys, there's an article out there that shows how much money he makes. He signed a 3-year deal for $1.5 million. That sounds like something an athlete would make. A journalist making that much is kind of unheard for an MMA. I know that obviously other journalists in other sports like football and those guys, Adam Schefter, I'm sure they make millions of dollars. I get that. But in MMA, he's hit the pinnacle of it. But I guess he wants to make more. Good for him. I can't blame a guy for wanting to make more money for his family. I'm just saying it seems risky to leave ESPN if it was his choice, which he says it was. Although again, what Marcus is saying, he just finds it hard to believe. And he said Ariel's joining a betting website. Yeah, the Action Network. So we don't know if that's going to happen because the guy who wrote the story, again, the same guy who's getting the information planted from Ariel or ESPN, whoever is giving the information, this Andrew Marchand guy keeps writing about Ariel. It's like, dude, chill out. Like, write about something else, Like, it's like, and he said he got the information wrong yesterday. He's like, sorry, guys, my source got mixed up. It's not done yet to the Action Network. So everyone thought that was going to happen. I just find it really bizarre if he does betting because he doesn't know anything about betting. I know he used to talk about it in his podcast years ago with that New York Rick guy that used to do their picks, but come on, guys. There's a difference between watching the sport, knowing the sport, and knowing how to bet on the sport. There's a huge difference. If that's really what's going to happen, I think he would be a good guy to fade. You know what I mean? Like whatever his picks are. I hate to say that. I just think that a guy with I have 10 years of experience betting. I put my hard-earned money on the line every weekend. You know what I mean? When has he ever did that? So I don't think that'd be a good move for him if he did that. But if he's doing interviews and stuff for them, that makes sense. But they said he's going to be his betting. Their betting expert. I don't know about that, guys. Like I just find it hard to like I think Ariel's like a great MMA journalist, but an MMA betting expert, I don't know about that. That seems a little odd to me. Don't you think, Marcel? Is that a little odd to you?
Yeah, you got to have a little bit more of how do you say that?
Experience.
Experience.
You have to, man.
You know,
absolutely.
I would, for example, I would never call myself a betting expert or whatever.
And you're not,
but
you know the sport
exactly.
well. You talk about the sport, but like every week I'm talking about the fights, and you gave me your thoughts, but you don't know the lines like me. You know what I mean?
No,
like I don't
exactly.
Yeah.
So you can't be somebody you're not. You know what I mean? So I know. Listen, man, you do all the research. You do all.
I know.
You do the tape.
Do you think Ariel's doing tape study, guys? I don't think so.
Nah,
no way. Not. I don't even really know if he watches like all the prelims and stuff like we all do. We're all like fight nerds, right? I know he loves the sport. I'm not doubting that. I know he loves the sport. I know he knows the sport well. He knows the fighters well. But if his job is to give betting advice, like they were saying he's going to be the betting expert, that is very odd to me. Straight Wagers felt the same way. That's just strange. But again, I wish the guy the best of luck. Let's move on here. Mac, what's going on, man? He says you guys got to NFT those tweets of yours ESPN uses on the broadcast. I know Jack from Twitter, he sold his NFT for his first ever tweet for like millions of dollars or something. I don't know what it was, but yeah. Holy strange, ESPN put him on DC on TV even late night just a few weeks ago. I didn't know about that. We don't get ESPN in Canada, so I would just see what's on YouTube and stuff like that. But again, like I wish the guy the best of luck. I'm just saying, like, again, Marcel, making $500,000, guys, like that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a journalist to make. So it's like, I know now that I know how much money he makes, I just don't feel that bad. You know what I mean, Marcel? It's like, Marcel, don't you wish you made $500,000 a year? That'd be nice, right?
Dude, I would even be happy with 20% of it. Let's
100,000 would be too. I agree. Yeah. I agree. So, we'll see, guys. I mean, it's obviously a newsworthy story. That's why we talked about this now. And it's a good question to ask from Marcus and from Big J. But it's like, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. I just feel like, in this business, man, it's like, as much as I feel like, a guy like me is valuable and a guy like you is valuable, Marcel, the truth is, dude, if we died tomorrow, the sport would move on without us. You know what I mean? It would be a loss for a minute. Same with any of us, really. There's always going to be another journalist coming in that will take your spot. It's like the UFC in a way. It's like, you get cut, someone gets cut, someone else comes in and takes your spot. So, yeah.
I say it always at work as well, man. If I'm sick, for example, and people's like, or the boss is like, we actually can't miss you. That's like, dude, if I drop that tomorrow, you still have to change, have to find somebody to do the work what I do for me. So it's not like everybody's. It's not. That sounds really cold. Everybody is replaceable, but I don't mean it that way. But in a job, like probably everybody is replaceable.
No, exactly. Not as a person, as a human being. I mean, I'm sure you guys are going to miss me and Marcel if we left. I mean, if we're gone tomorrow, you guys are going to be sad. But as like for the job we do, as much as I think I'm good at my job and I am as good as Marcel is at his job, there will be someone else that could take over. Same with Ariel. I'm sure ESPN's already looking for someone else to replace him. So don't know who that's going to be, but we'll see. I wish the guy the best of luck. I'm just saying, like, I'm very concerned about my own life and my own career, and I really don't think he's going to be talking about our jobs. You know what I mean, Marcel? Like, this guy's not going to go to bat for us. So it's like, I hope the best for the guy, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, sure.
You got to worry about yourself in this life, guys. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people in this industry really just worry way too much about what other people are doing and not themselves. And they really should just be worried about themselves and pressing forward their careers instead of, sitting there on Twitter and tweeting about how Ariel is leaving ESPN. It's like, okay, guys, we know. Now, what are you doing with your life? You know what I mean? So it's weird.
Yeah,
anyways, go ahead.
Why would you be worried about what you can't, why you don't have any influence on?
Exactly. What you can't control, you can't worry about. I agree completely. That's something that I'm really learning on myself, and that includes the fights. Quite frankly, guys. I mean, we can only control as much as we can. When we're handicapping these fights, we look at the tape, we look at the stats, we look at the fighters, we do all the research. But at the end of the day, we're not in control. They're in control in the cage. So that's like anything in life. You know what I mean? Like, you're only in control of so much, and the stuff you can't control, you can't really worry about it. You know what I mean? It sucks. Like a bad judge's decision, it sucks, but you can't control it. So it's like that stuff doesn't hurt me as much as it used to. Let's talk about this card, Marcel. UFC Vegas 28. It was a pretty good card, I guess. Like, there were some nice knockouts, obviously, a lot of decisions. I did really well, guys. My picks weren't great. They were like 7-5, but that Claudio Puelles guy made me a lot of money on the weekend because I came in fourth place, Marcel, in DraftKings. Fourth place out of 31,000 people. But I was 2 points behind the leader. I had Gregory Rodriguez on my team, guys. If I had Ponzinibbio, that 2 extra points would have been the difference between winning $5,000, which is still great, obviously, and winning 50 grand. 2 points was the difference between me winning 50 grand on the weekend. So I'm like, ugh, it sucks. So that would have been a nice hit, but again, can't control it. I didn't think he was going to win. I thought Rodriguez would. Ponzinibbio had slightly more points. We'll talk about that fight in a sec. But let's talk about the main event. Because this guy also helped me out. I really needed him to get that knockout in the first round. And he did. And as soon as he got the knockout, I was like, yes, 4th place, baby. So it was a good night for me, Marcel, from like a money perspective. And this was one I really did like here in Rozenstruik. Obviously, Sakai, I got to be honest, the weigh-in threw me off because he was bigger than him, right? Like that wasn't what I expected. When I did the research, and obviously you saw that the height was changed later on. He is 6'2", Jair. He's not 6'4", but that didn't even come into play because Sakai he just looked kind of scared in this fight, Marcel. He was very timid, and he ends up getting KO'd at the last second of the first round. Give me your thoughts on the fight, man.
Yeah, man, it was actually a long time before anything really happened in that first round, but yeah, pretty much went well, like I said, man. I mean, Sakai, as it wasn't good enough to get Rozenstruik to the ground, in my opinion, and he didn't even bother with it. Rozenstruik knocked him out. I mean, if you can't control Rozenstruik on the ground, you're gonna get knocked out unless your name is Francis Ngannou. So, I mean, that's pretty much what we thought was going to happen. I said to you as well, man, I don't have anything against Sakai, but I don't think his fight IQ is very high. So I didn't expect him to win the fight, and I expect Rozenstruik to knock him out, and he did. So
yeah, no,
that was a KO. That was not a TKO. I don't know.
Just TKO on yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I think he was knocked out cold. I think, right?
Yeah.
It looked like
it's very often the last couple of times. When it's a clear KO, they say TKO. And then, for example, there's a TKO, they say KO. And it's like, yeah, I don't know anymore, you know.
They also called Ben Rothwell's go-go choke a guillotine. He was really pissed off about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Jair, I think it's a good win, obviously. He is a good fighter, man. I think, last week, Straight Wager was the guy saying he's worth a look, and he definitely was. It's just like these heavyweight fights sometimes obviously have a lot more variance, so I can see why people were on the other side. But, for Rozenstruik, this is a good win. He's 6-2 now, Marcel. Someone asked her if he wanted to fight Curtis Blaydes. He said he's interested in that fight. I think that fight makes a lot of sense, man, because he's looking to move up in the ranks. Curtis is kind of like in no man's land right now. Like, he's lost to Francis twice. He's lost to Derek Lewis. He's obviously an amazing fighter with the wrestling, but, he does have kind of a questionable chin, I think, at this point. He's been knocked out a few times. I think this fight makes a lot of sense. What do you think about that fight? You like it?
Yeah, I'm cool with it, no problem with it. The thing is, like, what's going to happen in this fight. Either Rozenstruik lands a big punch in the first round.
Yep.
But if Blaydes can get him, or Blaydes gets him to the ground and dominates him there, because I don't think Rozenstruik will get up if Blaydes is on top of him. So, yeah, I don't know, man, if it's the greatest fight for Rozenstruik, but if he wants to get to the top 3, he got to probably go through.
Exactly. That's the guy you have to beat. You got to beat a top grappler like that. Yeah, he's quite good, man. I mean, right now in his career, he's 12-2 with 11 wins by knockout. So the guy does have a lot of power, and he can be an exciting guy at times. The only thing I'll say about Rozenstruik is I do think that he's a little conservative at times. Like he didn't throw his hand at all in this fight until the last 10 seconds. He said when he heard the clapper, he's like, I got to go for it right now and get the knockout. And I'm so happy, Marcel, someone who really needed that first round knockout for my fantasy guys. I really needed that. I was so happy. It was awesome. Me and my wife were jumping up and down. We were happy. Good win, but not thrilled to see 5 more 5-round Jair fights. He's so dangerous he can afford to do nothing. Dude, that is a great point. I agree with Matt completely. Just like the Overeem fight was a great example of that. Like, he was losing the fight, but the whole time he still felt like he was in it and just threw that big punch and knocked right. To be honest, that stoppage is still a little questionable, I think, because a lot of refs would have let the 4 seconds go. But, I think because his lip ripped open. Yeah. So it's okay. I don't think it was the worst stoppage ever, that fight.
That's what made Mergliata stop the fight.
And it's worth noting, guys, I'm pretty sure this is correct. Jair is the only guy in UFC history now with 2 knockouts in the last 5 seconds or 10 seconds of a round. So, or 5 seconds, I should say. It's pretty impressive. He can knock you out at any time of the fight, the first round or the 5th round. So he's got power. My wins were under 2.5 in co-main, Jair first, and Dolidze, Manuel, Char, parlay. Nice job, man. Rebounded for my losing streak. Good job, Daniel. Nice job, buddy. Yeah, I had a slight winning night too. But from fantasy, it was a lot better than the actual bets. But it's okay. It was still a winning night. I'm doing good in the year. I'm up 10 units right now since I started at Elite, and that's just what 1 unit plays. So I'm doing pretty well this year. I'm happy with it. Let's go to the co-main event, Marcel. Marcin Tybura against Walt Harris. This fight honestly played out exactly like I thought. It really did. I think both of us thought Walt Harris is going to blow his load going for the knockout. I think it was pretty close to getting the knockout. Like Tybura's head was like a pinball machine there, but he gassed up so hard, and Tybura gets another first-round finish. Great win for Marcin, and he's obviously ready for a top, I think, 10 opponent at this. I mean, Walt Harris was top 10, but someone like a little bit better. What do you think, Marcel? Looked pretty good in this fight after the early garage.
Yeah, honestly, man, I was talking with someone else earlier today, Dutch podcast, and they were like, "Should we do Jairzinho Rozenstruik against Tybura?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that, but probably Rozenstruik with somebody higher, So Tybura, yeah, he's in a spot where it's kind of hard right now because a lot of guys already booked. I don't know exactly who isn't at this moment, but he did look good after overcoming adversity again. Just like in the Hardy fight, he overcame adversity. So, yeah, I don't know. For Harris, man, I hope they give Harris an unranked opponent next because he really needs a win badly, and it just doesn't look good, man. I mean, he can do damage in the earlier stages of the fight, and then he gasses out. So yeah.
I mean, like, if you have 2 minutes of cardio in the UFC, come on. Like, that's just – you're not a professional athlete at that point. I'm sorry to say that. Like, I don't want to be harsh on this guy because he's been through a lot. I think they might release him, to be honest with you guys. Like, I know he's top 10 ranked, but he has a losing record in the UFC. He's lost 3 straight fights by TKO. Usually that gets you your pink slip. But Walt Harris, again, they do have a soft spot for him. If you want to keep him on the roster, give him someone like Justin Tafa, the guy who lost a couple weeks ago to Jared Vanderaa, just to give him a chance to at least remain on the roster. Someone like that. You know what I mean, Marcel? Like a winnable fight. But I'll be honest, guys, I don't even know if he wins that fight. I think Walt, at this point, he's got 2 minutes of cardio, and if he doesn't get that KO in that first 2 minutes, then he's done. Like, this same thing happened in the Overeem fight. The exact same thing happened. Go ahead.
You're on a crazy fight. Do Walt Harris against Chris Barnett.
Yeah, I would watch that fight too. I mean, that does kind of actually make sense, to be honest with you. I think Chris will get another fight because he obviously took the fight with Rothwell on short notice. I would watch that fight. I mean, honestly, Ben Rothwell could fight Walt Harris too. I mean, I don't think they could do that fight too. Like, there's a lot of fights for the guy. They'll probably keep him around because he is kind of exciting for the 2 minutes that he has of cardio. But guys, I mean, you want to be a champion, you want to even be a top 10 fighter, you got to have more than that of cardio. Who would you prefer Blades to fight, Tybura or Rozenstruik? That's interesting, Jose. Good question. I think that Rozenstruik wants that elite top 5 guy, and that's why he wants Blades. But stylistically, Tybura and Blades kind of makes more sense just because it would kind of be a boring fight, but you kind of do see who the wrestler is that would stay in the top 10. I don't know. We'll see. But I kind of prefer just to see Rozenstruik get that step up again. And yeah, we'll see. All right, let's go through the rest of the main card here, Marcel. Roman Dolidze defeats Laureano Staropoli. Yo, this fight was really boring, man. I got to be honest. Like, he did what he needed to do. He basically won because he was just a bigger, stronger guy. Like, that's all it was. And to be honest with you, I don't think Roman was that impressed in this fight, man. I mean, Laureano took him down a few times. He showed no striking at all. He basically was holding Laureano against the fence. And Keith Peterson didn't break up the clinching. And like even the announcers are saying, hey, like, this is a few minutes of clinching. Now you can break it up. I just think it was kind of a boring fight. Like, I picked Dolidze, so I figured he'd win the fight, but it wasn't a great fight, Marcel. I don't really think it moves him up the rankings. You know what I mean? What do you think?
No, it wasn't a good fight at all, man. But the win for Dolidze, he did what he had to do, and that was it. And I think any more talk about this fight is lost time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think the Chirico might have beat him, to be honest with you. That guy's pretty underrated. Let's talk about the fight of the night here. My God, this fight was amazing. Santiago Ponzinibbio and Miguel Baeza. What an absolute crazy fight. I got a lot of thoughts about this fight. I did lose on Baeza. I thought he would win. I didn't expect Ponzinibbio to win. That's one. Like, there's always every card. There's always a guy that I don't think will win that wins, and this was the guy this week. I really didn't give him much of a chance. I know there was a few guys on Oddsbreaker that did have him, including our boy AJ, who really liked it. But again, Marcel, I really thought Baeza would get the job done. I'm very impressed by this guy. Here's the problem I had with his performance. Right, it was a great fight, but he was way too focused on those low kicks. He wasn't even like covering his head. He was just going for the kick, leaving his head exposed, and that changed the complexion of the fight. Halfway through the second round, it seemed like he kind of started getting a little gassed out, and Ponzinibbio really started to take it to him. It was an amazing fight, one fight of the night. Give me your thoughts on this fight, man. I love the fight.
Great fight, man, from start to finish. First round was clear for Baeza. He did very well in that round. But then, man, Ponzinibbio took over, did a lot more damage. Like you said, Baeza, way too much focus on low kicks. And Ponzinibbio did just more damage, in the second and third round. And, I mean, I said in my tweet, who won, 29-28. I don't know for sure, but yeah, I knew for sure. But this was a fight you don't want to see anybody lose. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This was a typical fight where I'm like, listen, man, if the UFC pays win bonuses for draws, I would have loved to see a draw. You know what I mean? But Ponzinibbio won 29-28, no problem with that. Was pretty clear actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think it's a good learning curve for Baeza as well. You know, if you lose to a veteran like Ponzinibbio, and you lose in the way he lost in a competitive fight, in a great fight, you know, that's only good. You know, it's of course better if you win, but this is only good if you lose like this. I'd rather have a loss like this on my record than a knockout loss in the second round. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I agree. I think that he looked okay, especially in the first round, and he looked tough, obviously, but I think that, you know, it's good if he goes back to the drawing board a little bit and learns, you know, you can't just focus on one thing. And especially low kicks, like as much as we like the low kicks guys and they're awesome to watch and guys get hurt with them, especially nowadays, the percentage of fights that are stopped via low kicks are so low. It's like probably less than 1% of fights, whereas knockouts happen like in a quarter of fights that happen. So I think that it was kind of a mistake just to go for the legs. He should have been going for the head, mixing it up a little more. And I think that was his downfall in this fight. But yeah, Ponzinibbio looked good. He said he wants to fight Luque next. I don't think he gets Luque because Luque is like top 5 now. But, you know, I think someone in the top 15 for Santiago would be a nice matchup, Marcel. He also said maybe the loser of Burns and Thompson. That would be okay, I guess, too. But again, those guys are pretty highly ranked. So, you know, looking at the top 15, if he wants to bounce back in the top 15, you know, a guy like Robbie Lawler's still ranked. I think that would be good. Yeah, exactly. Let him have a chance to get back in the top 15. Quite frankly, he was removed too soon, I think, you know, so. And Li Jingning's ranked 11 right now. He's the guy who beat him, right? So remember that. All right, let's get these comments. Sorry, guys, I missed them. Tybura versus the loser of Khan and Volkov. Sure. They can cut Delezy. They won't cut Delezy. They won't cut him, but it was a boring fight. Enjoyed Cruz defending Delezy's strategy. Like, don't get me wrong, he fought smart, but it wasn't crowd pleasing, and people started to fall asleep during that one. Totally agree by Baeza. Once the tide turned, his strategy remained the same. Not a catastrophe. Worry this highlights real issues for sure. I still think the kid's really talented, super good. But again, another one of these contender series guys that's unbeaten. And they said that graphic at the beginning of the episode, Marcel, of the card. And the two guys who are undefeated lost. We'll talk about the other guy in a few minutes. But I still think Baeza has a good ceiling in the sport. But obviously, you know, sometimes guys have to lose to learn, if that makes sense. They have to lose to get better, just like you said, Marcel. We'll talk about that fight in a second. The Bozer fight. Tybura's an underrated resurgence. He's had 5 straight wins. I know Marcel's a big fan of, obviously, Tybura. You like him quite a bit, Marcel.
I wouldn't say a big fan, but I respect what he has done. You know,
he's for a guy that was on the verge of being cut. He lost. Remember? Exactly. Yeah. So now he's top 10. It's crazy, but I still feel like he can get knocked out by these like really good strikers. Yeah. Like Rozenstruik, I think would knock him out. Honestly, we'll see. Delezy versus Iron Turtle Park. That would be a great fight. I actually really like that fight, Jose. It makes a lot of sense. Knew my 50 was safe. That was an easy 50 for sure, bud. Let's go to the next fight here. It is Gregory Rodriguez, which is someone I call. I think you called him too. Did you call him Rodriguez? Yeah. We both really liked him here, guys. Again, I thought he looked great, by the way. I thought this was a really good performance. This guy's fun to watch, man. He's got good striking and he's got good grappling. I just think Dusko is just not really UFC ready yet. I don't know, Marcel. It's just like this guy. I know he has the win in the UFC, obviously, but he hasn't looked that great, guys, since that fight with Townsend. And that guy's not in the UFC anymore. I think Rodriguez is good. I'm just saying, like, I don't think Dusko's as good as some of us thought, including myself after Contender Series. I thought this guy was quite good, but he really isn't. You think they cut Dusko?
Nah, I don't think they will cut him, but maybe they give him another one. But nah, man.
He'll get one more fight. You're right, because he signed a 4-fight deal, so he'll get the last fight. But you have to win that fight. If he loses, he'll be
definitely. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Rodriguez, who would you match him up with? I mean, the guy's obviously a very exciting guy. I mean, hell, I'd watch I don't know who to match him up with. What are you thinking? Like, I mean, I was gonna say Delezy because he won, but I don't know if that'd be the most exciting fight. What do you think? Like, there's got to be a striker that he can fight, right?
I always would say Jacob Volkman, you know, but yeah, we match him up with, man. That's a tough question. Maybe do with Anthony Hernandez.
Sure, that'd be a fun fight. The only thing is, I think Fluffy might be wanting a higher step up because he did get that huge win his last fight. I'm just looking at I'm looking at their record now. So he's 1-0 now, obviously, right? Gregory Rodriguez. There's only one other guy in the UFC in the middleweight division that's 1-0, and I don't think he has a fight. Dricus Duplessis. He's the only other guy that's 1-0. Would you watch that fight? Does he have a fight?
He's fighting Giles, I think.
Fighting Giles? The fight was scheduled. Okay, it was rescheduled. Yeah, you're right. For actually, he was supposed to fight the Leedsy Giles, and actually he did fight him. Yeah, that's at 264. You're right. It just doesn't say it here on Wiki. I'm just looking at like just guys with that similar record. Go ahead. Sorry,
Buckley
would be good. You know, someone like Andreas Michailidis, that would be a fun fight. 2 strikers, that would be a good fight. I'd watch that fight. I would give him a striker. Tefon Nchukwi even. I know he's coming off a loss, but that'd be a fun fight. We'll see. I think any of these strikers, Jordan Wright would be a good fight too. Jordan Wright versus Rodriguez, that'd be a fun one, guys. So there's fights for him. There's no doubt about it. Last fight in the main card here, Marcel, Montana De La Rosa just absolutely destroys Ariel Lipski. I think we both really liked her in this fight. This fight definitely ended the way I thought it would, with Montana just getting on top and just pouring it down. I didn't expect her to get the finish necessarily, but it was nice to see. She looked incredible, Marcel. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. And we both expected Montana to win the fight. I don't know what I had. I think I had a decision here. But, I mean, she looked good, man. From start to finish, stand-up was good, was solid. Ground game was very good. So, yeah, I mean, Montana probably gets a ranked opponent next, I think. So, and for Lipski, I mean, Lipski is kind of in the way that she only won 2 fights, and those were against Luana Carolina, which is a good win. But what's the Padua or the late girl?
She's not even in the UFC anymore. She was one and done. Yeah.
So it's not really looking good for her. But the thing is, let's be honest, she looks good, you know, and I think she's a very nice person as well, as I see her in interviews and stuff. So I expect her to get another fight, man. Probably against a less talented girl in the division to maybe get her a win. But I have no idea against who they will match her up with. I would do maybe against Maria Agapova.
Yeah, someone like that, or even, well, I was going to say Antonina, but she actually lost to Antonina, man. I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking at the flyweight division. Who did you say again? Who was it?
Maria Agapova.
Sure, she's 1-1. I mean, someone like Victoria Leonardo. Oh, she's fighting actually. Leonardo, Hannah Goldie, someone like that. Like someone who's kind of at the bottom of the division. Or even someone like that. I mean, really, because I think at this point, Lipski's 2-4, guys. She'll be cut if she loses her next fight. That's what I think. I mean, she might get cut now. I think they will keep her around though, because she's obviously very marketable. I think. I think she'll get. Yeah, she'll get another fight. I think. And I bet Disco's going to suffer over 5 vicious knuckle losses in his future. Dude, it's the worst striking defense ever. We talked about it. He just keeps his chin up. He goes like this. He moves it back like this. He doesn't move side to side. He doesn't duck his head. He just moves it back, Marcel. It's just, I don't know who taught him how to strike, how the defense is like this, but he needs to go to a better gym. What gym is he at? Do you know? Dusko?
Dusko.
Is he in Serbia? Like, is he still in?
I think I know he's managed by MTK, but I don't know what his gym is.
I think a gym change would be good for him because I think the kid needs to really work on his striking defense. Go to someone like, I don't know. I already know who would be a good striking coach for him. Someone else, whoever else he's not working with now. Dusko's good for testing prospects. That's it. Maybe improves. Maybe Dusko and Dawkins. Actually, that fight makes sense. I would watch that fight. Kyle Dawkins, he's saying, not Chris.
I mean, connect with Gregory Rodriguez and ask if you can come train with at Sanford. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that makes sense too. I mean, Rodriguez's striking is very good. It's very straight, and that's good. Straight punches are good. Yeah. I also like Tybura's game style. Some fights have been boring, but for heavyweight, he has awkward kicks and good grappling plus a lot of experience. He's for sure, and he's improved. What could be done with Lipski? Ferro and De La Rosa would be fun. Yeah, that'd be a good fight. I mean, we'll talk about her in a second. All right, let's go to the next fight here, Marcel. We'll go through the prelims a little quicker. There's still a few fights to talk about.
You also want to talk about Arroyo and against.
Oh yes, of course we do. The fight that didn't happen. So, give me your thoughts, man. 3rd time this has happened with Tom Breeze where he pulled a day fight. I think he's going to get cut. I don't think they can keep him on the roster anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, that's the thing. We don't know what exactly happened. And if it's the same thing again, I think they will probably cut him. You know, because there was lots of potential actually in his career, but there is no potential if you pull out on Fight Night 3 times. You know?
Yeah, I agree. That's 3 missed paychecks for him and his opponents. Like. He also pulled out fights with Ian Heinisch and Oli Wally Bangbose. I don't know what happened to that guy. He just fell into the UFC. He went 1-4. He lost to DiCirico, Paulo Costa, Uriah Hall, and Cesar Ferrer and got cut. I mean, those are some tough losses, man. And he hasn't fought in 4 years. That's too bad. He hasn't fought since then. That's too bad. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to sign to fight this guy. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't accept him as an opponent. I'd be like, no, because he's beatable, but he doesn't even show up half the time. I obviously have some sympathy for the guy, and he's dealing with obviously some mental health issues. He's talked about openly about anxiety in the past. As someone who's dealt with anxiety, I'm getting treated for that. You know what I mean, Marcel? Like, it's hard to deal with. There's no doubt about it. It's a hard thing to deal with, guys. Anxiety, depression, all that stuff. It's brutal, man. And it's hurt me too in my life. You know what I mean? But as a professional athlete, you do have an obligation to show up on fight night and step into the cage. He pulled out 10 minutes before the fight, according to Arroyo's Instagram. Arroyo's like, I was getting ready to make the walk, and the guy pulled out due to medical issues. That's what they're saying. It just sucks. That's all I can say, Marcel. It sucks. And I hope that they did pay at least Arroyo his show money, although knowing the UFC, wouldn't surprise me if they were like, we'll book you on the June 26th card in 2 weeks. You can fight that card instead, and we'll pay you then. Like, remember Ed Herman when he had that fight canceled against, I can't remember who it was, that Dana White got pissed because he wouldn't fight Holland at like short notice, remember? 2 months ago. They didn't pay him his show money. You paid him $10,000. He was really pissed. So we'll see. Let's go to the prelims here. And this is a fight Jose thought that was the wrong decision. Ilir Latifi defeats Tanner Boser by split decision, 29-28 times 2, and then 29-27 for Boser, which would obviously be a 10-8 round the second. All right, so some thoughts on this fight. I'm not honestly surprised Boser lost because, you know, as much as like his striking is pretty good, he just really wasn't tested in the wrestling. Latifi is a huge dude. Like, the guy's just an ox. He's a beast, and he just took him down. He's very low output, though. Latifi's very frustrating to watch, man. Like, he doesn't throw his hands, you know, but he gets these key takedowns when he needs them and wins decisions that way. As much as I hate saying it, because I understand fights are scored by damage, the problem is all the damage was done in the one round after the eye poke, too. That's the problem, is an eye poke that the referee missed. All the damage was done there. There was no damage done by Boser in rounds 1 and 3, and I would honestly give those rounds to Latifi. So I think the decision was okay. What do you think?
Yeah, perfect decision, man. First round for Latifi, and the third round for Latifi. I mean, I think many people are swayed by what the commentators are saying. You know, Bisping was like, "Yeah, Latifi needs to finish here in the third."
Yeah, I was surprised. I don't understand. They need to stop. You know what, guys? Like, these commentators are very good, but they have enough to worry about with like just calling the action. They need someone that's dedicated to scoring the fights, like Eddie Bravo used to do. They go to
that was perfect.
Remember, it was great. They'd be like, Eddie, who do you think won that round? He'd be like, oh, I want this guy the better striking, the better wrestling. Hell, I'll do it. You can do Marcel.
you keep yourself out of that discussion, you know.
Exactly.
I
agree. I agree. It's hard to call the fights, call the action, you know, and all the facts for the guys, and you know, score at the same time. I totally understand, like, because they're doing the job as commentators. They're not judges at the same time. But I have noticed that a lot of these fights where a guy won the first 2 rounds and then he's losing the third, and they'll be like, oh, this guy he's losing the fight. And it's like, but he won the other 2 rounds. You know what I mean, Marcel? That happens quite a bit, I noticed. So I'm with you. Tom Breeze tends to pull. His opponents aren't high level. Bambosi and Arroyo don't excite him. I don't know if it's that. I just think the guy's got some mental health issues, obviously. Off topic, do you think some of this year's Dana White's Contender Series fights too good for the show? Yeah, there's some good fights coming up, but the thing is, like, there's a lot of fighters on the roster. I think there's like 600 fighters on the roster, so they got to be careful with how many guys they sign.
You know, Adam,
they're going to cut people soon too. Go ahead.
Just what frustrates me is that they have, for example, a guy like Hasan Ashkabov on the show who is 26-0, Nasruddinov who is like 10-0, and then Albert Duraev who is proven at ACA on that show, and at the same time they give the contracts to people who are 3-on-1.
Yeah, it's just for content. They need content this summer. That's what it is. Otherwise these guys would be in the UFC. I'm with you. Got these comments. Latifi was a steal, left money on the table there. Ilir wasn't impressed on the feet. Redfended my bet. With you fight. That's so funny. Seems like the only 2 avenues in the UFC are Contender Series getting signed last minute, like a sacrifice, love for Rowe. Yeah, I think Ricci's management made a really bad decision. We'll talk about that in a second here. Let's just go through the other fights. We got 6 fights left. Muslim Salikov defeats Francisco Trinaldo. I took a shot on Trinaldo as a big underdog. I thought he was pretty competitive, but obviously the striking levels were it was too far in Salikov's favor, and he was the better grappler too. So I thought he looked good. Salikov 5-1 now in the UFC. Marcel, what do you think's next for Muslim? You think he gets a top 15 guy?
Yeah, likely. Why not? You know, it's possible. You know, Trinaldo is always. You know, Trinaldo is now from lightweight to welterweight, but Trinaldo is always in that conversation to be in the top 15 or top 20 there. So. Yeah, why not? You know, and Trinaldo, dude. If I'm 42, or if I ever make 42, I want to have his output. You know,
yeah, man, it's crazy. I thought he looked okay in the fight. I mean, he obviously lost. So there's no doubt about it. He lost. He lost every round, but Like, for a guy who's a big underdog, he held his own. I think he'll win some fights in this division. Now, as far as Salikov goes, what do you think of this fight? Li Jingliang versus Muslim. What do you think?
Yeah, why not? I mean,
that fight makes a lot of sense.
I like it.
It'd be a good fight. That's the fight I want to see. Ali's his manager, I think, so he'll get him a big fight. He'll get him a top 15 guy.
Yeah.
Not hating at Breeze. Straight Wager says this. Not hating at Breeze at all, but he's going to have a hard time getting people to fight him. I think they're going to release him, man. I don't think anyone will fight him. I wouldn't want to sign to fight him. You take a real risk that you put in 3 months of training camp and the guy pulls out 10 minutes before you're supposed to fight. That is crappy. Ken Willa-Kirk, man, great performance here. I mean, I don't know if he won the fight. I'll be honest with you. I thought Makwan won. Most media members thought Makwan won looking at NBA decisions. But it was pretty close, and I think it was that late reversal in the third round where Makwan, he was on top the whole round. He got reversed late, and I've noticed that the judges in these close rounds, they'll give it to whoever's on top at the end of the round. It was like that fight between Yannick Kunitskaya and what's her name? Vieira. Remember that same thing, right?
Yeah.
Vieira was controlling the whole fight, and then 10 seconds left. George over starts raining out punches. So I don't think it was the worst decision ever, because I do think Kirk did more with the striking, but Makwan had a lot of control time in this fight. I do think that should count for something. So I thought Makwan won 29-28, but what do you think?
Yeah, man, I also had that Makwan 29-28. But like I said, that's all in my tweet. I don't think it's a robbery if it's 29-28.
No.
But what shit that calls that fight 30-27, man?
That's a bullshit score. I mean, how do you give the first round to Kirk? I don't think that makes sense.
Exactly.
Second round obviously was his. The third, it came down to the third round. Quite frankly, all three judges gave it to him. So I feel like they are punishing guys.
Man.
They're punishing guys who rest. They are punishing guys who lay on top of you and rest. They want guys throwing strikes. I still think control time should matter in the sport, but at the same time, it is about damage. So I can see where they were going with it. But again, I think it was a bad call. But again, it's not a robbery. It was just the wrong call, I think. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
They say it's incredible. Tom Brady's still going, but I pictured all the finishing. Did I say Tom? Who said Tom Brady? Was it me or Marcel? Maybe I did. Sorry, guys, if I did. My bad. Obviously, I meant Tom Breeze. Alan Patrick. We got to talk about this fight quickly. Alan Patrick and Mason Jones. So Alan Patrick, man, I mean, he was getting destroyed, and he found a way out of the fight and took it. I can't blame him. Marcel, but I think they're going to release him after this stunt because it was right away. He's like, I can't see. They didn't even take the full 5 minutes. Mason Jones, he poked him in the eye. We saw it on the replay, but I don't know, guys. What do you think? Tell me.
Man, I don't want to say anything bad about Alan Patrick.
Say it. Just say it. Say what you want to say.
I fucking knew it when that finger got in the eye.
Over. I go to my fiance. I'm like, babe, we're not going to win our bet on Jones. It's going to be a no contest.
Yeah, I knew it at the moment it happened.
Same here. I was like, he's going to look for the way out. And I don't blame him. It's like that fight between Todd Duffy and Jeff Hughes. Remember that fight?
Yeah.
Poked him in the eye. He didn't fight again. I think he was released, right? So I don't know if he's been released, Todd Duffy, but he never fought after that fight. So I feel like they might release Allen. He is asking for a rematch. He says that he could not see. He says his vision was cloudy. I think we got to give him the benefit of the doubt because he is in the UFC. He's like, I've had 15 fights in the UFC. That's the first time this happened. So whatever it is, but we're not 50 fights in the UFC. I don't know how many he's had. How many has he had in the UFC? 10?
I wouldn't blame Mason Jones if he says I want somebody else.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he wants it because I saw Jones's thing and he said that the guy. He said, what did Mason Jones say? Let me check his Instagram. He said something
he was done anyways or something.
Yeah. He said, here's what it's funny what he said. He goes, give the prey a way to run and watch it scamper away. Find me a date. We're ready to go whenever. So, yeah. I actually kind of think he's right, but I don't think he wants to take this fight again. Let's get these comments. I had Kirk personally winning. It was a close fight for sure. Who would you favor, Romanov versus Rothwell Latifi? Both those fights make sense. I would like to see Romanov Latifi. That'd be a good fight. Why was Patrick Jason no contest? Because it was in the second round of a 3-round fight. It would have to have gone to the third round where the scorecards came into play. Aldo Jan was a 5-round fight. They went into the fourth round. A 5-round fight has to go 3 rounds. Go ahead.
That was also because
it was also deemed intentional. Yes, exactly. Yeah. That was a deemed intentional knee, and it was. And the eye poke was deemed accidental. I don't remember a time where we've ever seen a DQ for an eye poke, but I feel like it might be coming soon. We've had a lot of no contests this year, like Bilal Muhammad and Leon Edwards this fight. So I don't know what you think, Marcel, but I feel like they might eventually punish a guy.
They need to do something with the gloves.
They got to curve them or something. I'm with you. It's the gloves for sure. Alan Patrick took a page from the book from the School of Self-Awareness. It's frustrating having Aljo as a champ holding a killer division after getting whooped 4 rounds. I agree. I mean, you guys saw my scorecard was on that fight. I thought Jan was winning the whole fight. How big of a betting underdog would be if Patrick gets another fight? Depends on who he's going to face. But if he fought Jones again, he wouldn't be. Jones is only minus 300. We thought that was kind of high. He'll be like minus 1,000 next time they fight if they do. Like Diego quitting against Pereira. Very, very, very good example. And that was a DQ because it was the 3rd round. And I believe.
Yeah, but we blamed Josh Fabia. We blamed Josh Fabia.
Josh Fabia for that. Okay. Yeah. A couple other fights here. Manon Fiorot looked outstanding. But again, the size difference for Ricci, I think her management really screwed her here. I mean, she was going to get in the UFC eventually. Like, why do they need to rush her in to get knocked out by a girl who's like way bigger than her, Marcel? I think the management screwed up. I know she got her paycheck. She'll get her $10,000 show money, but what do you think? I think she should have, waited a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of agree, man. This is a short notice fight. She normally fights at strawweight.
Exactly.
I was a flyweight, and damn, she looked good at the weigh-ins. But let's not talk about that.
She's very attractive. I mean, she definitely is. There's no doubt about it. But again, the size difference, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was, man. And I think Fiorot did perfect what she had to do, and then she finished her. And it was expected that she should get a finish against a girl who's actually at strawweight normally, which is she's a BJJ girl, you know that. But the thing is also with Ricci, man, she probably needs some more regional fights, man, because all the girls she fought at the regional scene had a negative record. You know what I mean?
I know.
This was a first person with a positive record she fought. Also a lot bigger than her, longer. So yeah, I mean, I hope she can do well at strawweight in her next fight. But man, Fiorot looked good. I'm curious what they're going to do. Listen, man, Fiorot against Anthony Shevchenko would be great,
Sure. I mean, is Anthony ranked at this point? Let me double check.
Yeah, 15.
Sure. I mean, get her in the rankings, I think that makes a lot of sense, actually, now that I look at the rankings, because she's not in the rankings, Fiorot, but I think all of us know that this girl is going to be a title contender, guys. Like, she's really good. I think it won't be that – I think they're going to fast-track her to the top 10. So I actually could see her get someone higher ranked like Roxanne Modafferi. I think they could do that fight. You know what I mean? Just let her have a chance to get in the top 10. I think she might beat Roxanne. You know what I mean? Like, obviously the grappling would be in Roxanne's favor, but
grappling is the thing, yeah.
Fiorot, man, like her striking and her takedown defense look good. So we'll see. But I think that at this point she deserves someone ranked. I just think this girl's really good, guys. And I think that, this is the division where Valentina obviously is a champ. She's a dominant champion, but we got to look at future contenders. And you look at the rankings, you got fighters like Lauren Murphy ranked number 3 in that division. I think Fiorot is way more dangerous than Lauren Murphy. You know what I mean? Or like Cynthia Calvi, who's ranked number 5. I think that this girl, Manon Fiorot, is way more dangerous. I think she is a potential top 5 fighter.
Let's go crazy. What do you think if you do Fiorot against Shukagin? I know that's not going to happen.
I mean, why not? I mean, I actually think she'd win that fight. You know what I mean? So why not? Why not do it? I don't think they will because she's only had 2 fights. But guys, she's not young though, right? Isn't she like 30? I think she or 32.
Something like that.
Yeah. Let me double check her age. Manon Fiorot is 31. She's not super young. Like, she's new to the sport, but she's not super young. So I do think they'll kind of fast track her. She's not 21. She's 31. Glenn says too many fighters getting caught at 2-0 to be taking stupid fights. I agree completely, Glenn. It was like that dumb manager a few weeks ago with Aaron Blanchfield, and they signed her to fight Norma Dumont, who weighs 145 pounds. Your girl was going to get beaten, bro. She was going to get sat on for 3 rounds and beaten up. Thankfully, that fight didn't happen. Now she's fighting Alper, which is actually a winnable fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this girl she didn't have a winnable fight. She was brought in to get destroyed. I was like, man, maybe she could survive the 3 rounds, but Manon just got way too much power. 2 more fights, Marcel. Sean Woodson defeats Yusuf Zalal by split decision. How'd you score this one?
29-28 for Woodson. I saw the.
I didn't see that in the first round. My TV went off. My pass shut off, guys. That was terrible, eh? Yeah, that was like the first time it's ever happened. The fight pass just completely went off. So I don't know what happened there, but yeah, I don't think we missed a lot. I had Zalal. I was hoping he was going to win, but I didn't see the fight, so I really can't say. I saw the last round. Woodson obviously was defending the takedowns well, so I figured he was probably going to win, but close fight. And then the first fight of the night, Claudio Puelles, man, this guy really, really helped me out this weekend, guys. He was the reason that I actually had a really good night. So he defeats Jordan Levitt, Marcel, and after that first round, Jordan Levitt had no gas, and he has no striking, like I talked about, super one-dimensional. And I talked about last week, and I was like, man, I'm on the fence with this one, but I decided I'm going to take a shot on Puelas. I'm glad I did. The kid is good. He's a very good grappler, Marcel. This is a fun grappling match. We didn't see much striking from it. He does have some holes, obviously, in this game. But I like this kid, man. He's only 25, Marcel. He's 3-1 now in the UFC. What do you think of this kid, Puelas?
Yeah, man, he did look good in the second and third round, man. I mean, you were the only one at Oddsbreaker who picked.
I was the only guy. Can you believe that? I think, and like 2 guys said Kirk, I think. But I was the only guy who had Puelas. I was a little surprised by that. I mean, he's a good young prospect, but people really thought that Levitt would have that grappling advantage. And he did for 5 minutes, but Marcel, he gassed out. And this is why I said with that Matt Wyman fight, it wasn't a good thing that he won in 20 seconds because we didn't see the fight play out, right? He didn't get that 15 minutes of cage time. That's what you want to get. So I think Jordan's going to come back better, but I think Puelas is the guy to look for in this fight. This guy is a very good young prospect.
Yeah, I agree. And he looked great after a pretty long layoff, 2
years almost. I will say this, though. I talked about this more so. The younger fighters, when they have the layoffs, it's not as concerning as an older guy having a layoff because you're getting better in that time off. And he went, again, from Peru to Sanford. Another Sanford. Marcel, I love this gym. It's made me so much money. I love this gym. It's so good. It's such a good gym, guys. I love it. Anyways, that gym and ATT, those guys have been good. Levin made it easy on him. He looked terrible, Gabe. I don't know what happened to him, man, in this fight. Like, I expected to be a little bit more competitive than what it was. Like, I thought, but at second round, I was like, man, Puelas is going to win this fight. We got this one. We got it. Levin, Baeza, we were my cheap parlays. Yeah, Baeza hurt me a little bit, too. I did have a straight bet on him, but it happens. He lost the fight. The fight didn't reflect a significant strike difference that was scored to me. Is that the fight with Furo? Is that the one you're talking about? Let me double-check the stats on that. But, as much as I like UFC stats, I utilize it as a tool. I do think that they do miss a lot of strikes and stuff. But it's hard to count them all. It's hard. You know what I mean? Like, you're watching a guy punch and it's hard and kick and stuff. Is Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series back this summer? Is it? It is, right?
And August, late August. So not in June or July.
Yeah, so there you go. Any last second question about this card, we'll talk about them. But I want to talk a little bit about the Mayweather Paul fight. And you're talking about the Woodson fight. My bad. Sorry. Yeah, it was 42-40 in that fight.
Come on, guys. More questions about this card. Come on, guys.
If you guys have any last second, throw them for this card. But I do want to talk about the fight because, listen, we got to talk about the fight, Marcel. Like, I know you don't like these guys, but you had Scott Coker now saying Bellator wants to sign Logan Paul to be in MMA. Did you see that?
No.
Yes, he did. He talked to MMA Fighting. He said he wants to sign Logan Paul. So you're going to hear us talking about a lot more about Logan Paul, guys, if he signs a Bellator. That's for sure. The guy is a good athlete. He comes from a wrestling background. Did you watch the fight? You didn't watch it, did you?
I've seen parts. Let's keep it that way. Okay,
so I watched the card. I watched the whole card, actually. And, Gabe, nice, man. He hit Latifi Rodriguez Tybura. Nice job, man. I watched the card. You know what, guys? Like, I didn't take it that seriously like a lot of people were because it's an exhibition fight. So I was like, all right, it's not even a pro fight. It went the full 8 rounds, Marcel. I'm going to give Logan Paul some credit, man. The guy's tough. You know what I mean? Joe Rogan, I don't know if you saw Joe Rogan's Instagram. He freaking praised these guys. He's like, man, Logan Paul is super tough. People don't realize how tough this guy is. Go 8 rounds with Floyd Mayweather. And I totally understand Floyd is not the same guy. And he took Floyd, it was a glorified sparring session, Marcel. This is like what sparring at the gym looks like between 2 guys who don't want to hurt each other. That's what it looked like to me. But it was an exhibition fight. So I kind of expected it, to be honest with you. I was still hoping Floyd would go for the kill, but he didn't and ends up going the distance. Any thoughts at all?
Yeah, man. I mean, man, you called it a big fight on Twitter, I saw, man.
I did, yeah. Like, I still think it was I stand by that tweet. I think anytime Floyd fights, it's a big fight. I think anytime Logan fights, quite frankly, it's a big fight. These Paul brothers, man. Dude, you guys can say what you want. Like, people on Twitter can say what they want, but here's the facts. The sports books took more handle on that fight last night than any other fight this year. That's a fact. I saw Bet Online said that they had more signups last night than any other sporting event all year, including the Super Bowl, including the Kentucky Derby. That's crazy to me, especially because no one ended up winning because it went the distance and there was no knockout. So I think it was a big fight.
Do you understand that I think it's concerning that many big MMA websites are talking about this fight continually?
Including us, man. I mean, it's just the way it is now. You know what I mean? I'll be honest, like when I started at BJ 2 years ago, I didn't really want to do boxing, but it hits. People read about it. You go to MMA Junkie now, you go to MMA Fighting, you go to ESPN. What's the first page now? It's Logan Paul, it's Jake Paul. This is what people are reading about, Marcel. You got to get with the times now, man. As much as you don't like these guys, You're not going away, bro.
It's not my personal preference. That's not what I mean. But I mean, it's an MMA website, and if you want to do boxing, I don't mind, you can do it. But you also have to do the top level boxing and not just these kind of fights, and that's the thing. I see like 20, 25 articles about this fight, But if, for example, what's that last fight? Billy Joe Sanders against
Canelo.
Yeah. I see one article. You know what I mean?
We wrote about that one in the eye injury and stuff. We actually did. We cover all the big ones on Saturday nights, and this was Sunday night. But I know what you're saying. I think it's fair. I think it's fair to even call us though. I think it is because if you go to BJ Penn right now, a lot of the articles are Logan Paul. A lot of them are written by me. I don't necessarily love writing about the guy, but people want to read about him, believe it or not. So that's why I'm writing about him because. You know what, Marcel? In this business, you know what we need? Eyeballs. We need people reading the stuff, and people read about Logan and Jake because they don't like them and they want to see them lose. Bet Online being on Floyd's mask probably didn't hurt me sometimes. Yeah, and that Cash App. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I Googled Cash App because I've heard of it. They don't even allow it in Canada though, so it was all over the ring, but they don't allow it in Canada. Still blows my mind how effective that foreign marketing is for sportsbooks. Dude, sportsbooks now are really taking over. And it's like. Again, we talk about the fights every week. We're betting on the stuff, guys. But as you guys know, betting is not easy. It's not as easy as some people think. They really make it seem like betting's so easy, Marcel, like, when they promote it, right? But then you start to do it, you're like, oh, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought. You know what I mean? So I think they did well, though. They definitely got a lot of signups last night. But again, they didn't have to give away any money because there was no knockout. Doesn't the freak show model work in MMA too? More violence, and all I need are a few YouTube stars with built-in audiences looking for investors. I think it does to a certain point. I don't think the UFC necessarily will do it. They have dated. That's the thing. Dana's like, oh, we'll never do this. But he fucking brought in that guy, CM Punk. He had no business being in the UFC. James Toney also was in the UFC, had no business being in the UFC. So Dana says this now, but he's did the freak show fights before. I do think at this point, though, the UFC is all about looking for the best MMA fighter in the world. So I don't think they're going to bring him in, but I do think Bellator will. I do think Bellator, because they're working with Showtime, they're going to have these guys fight for them at some point. Any thoughts, Marcel?
No, what should I say?
I know you're not a huge fan of this. I get it. And I'm not a huge fan of freak show, but we liked it in Pride, man. We liked when Zulu fought Fedor. Really, what's the difference? You know what I mean? It's an exhibition fight, It's not even a professional match, guys. Like, it didn't go on their records. It's not a huge deal. It was just something to do, quite frankly, I feel bad for the people that bought it, though. If you actually bought the pay-per-view, I'm sorry, guys. That's not the smartest thing. And now they're giving refunds because it cut out. Logan Paul, I thrown the wave, but yeah, sure, I'd watch that. No, I'm kidding. I don't know, Marcel. I mean, like, listen, I totally understand why you're not, a huge fan of these guys, but I just think that they're here to stay. They're young too. Like, Logan's 26, Jake's 24, guys. Like, these guys are super young, man. They're going to be around the sport for a while. I think. I mean, unless they're just trying to cash in and get out, I don't blame them if they're doing that either. Dana bringing CM Punk was worse than the Pauls. Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, the guy had no experience. He trained a little bit of jiu-jitsu. That guy had no business being in the UFC.
I was also not a fan of that. So.
I hate it. I really didn't like that. I gotta be honest. That was something I really didn't like because I just felt and I like Mike Jackson. He's a cool guy and everything on Twitter, and I like the guy, but he's a journalist. It's like me. It's like them signing me to fight CM Punk. They signed you to fight. They signed me to fight in the cage. That's basically what it was. Matt says, looking forward to Marcel breaking on the Paul tape when Logan fights Paul Daly in Bellator. Paul versus Paul. That'd be a good fight. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I get it, guys. It's not everyone's cup of tea. That's totally fair. But I think they're here to stay. And I think that this summer, it's going to be the summer of the Pauls because you're going to hear a lot about these guys when he fights Tyron Woodley, Marcel. We'll see what happens. We'll break down that fight later on. Maybe I'll just get AJ to break it down with me instead of Cole because I know you probably would be like, I don't want to talk about this, right?
I think it's a very good idea, Adam.
That's so good. All right, Marcel, I think that's a good cue to get out of here. So appreciate everyone who's in the chat today, guys. Really appreciate it, man. Marcel, plug your stuff. Let's get out of here, man.
Marcel24, Twitter, Instagram, and MMADNA.nl, MMA YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you can find it.
Awesome. You guys can follow me on Twitter at MMADamMartin. The podcast is available at MMAOddsBreaker.com. It's on our YouTube channel. It's on a bunch of different places. It's all in the link on the description. You can see the links to like Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, all these things. I put them up the next day. As soon as I'm able to put them up, I put up the podcast. So you can also listen that way. But obviously, we prefer when people listen live. It's much better. We love it. We love getting the questions. It's all good. I noticed that it's gone up a little bit with the listenership, which is good. Obviously, we're not one of the bigger podcasts yet, but you guys listen to this podcast. You know that we're getting good information. We're giving you guys good talk. We only talk about MMA. We don't talk about other stuff. It's only MMA. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. You guys can also follow me, obviously, at MMAOddsbreaker.com. All the betting stuff there, Elite Fantasy, Elite Betting, BJPen.com, MyMMANews.com, and Fantasy Fanatics app. Got some stuff coming out with them. I got a lot coming out this week. I'm also doing a partner shot with James Lynch on Wednesday on his Patreon. So it's a busy week, Marcel. I'm excited for it, man. We got UFC 263 this weekend. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern to break down the card. Have a good one, guys. Peace.